Hi, welcome to the Fatherly Edition, a podcast by Tommaso Maggio alongside with a cavalcade of Daddy. Join us!
All right, welcome back to the Fatherly Edition. Today, we have the pleasure to have here Mark Wee, that is a creative designer, architect, and many other titles under the umbrella of creativity, and is a father as well. So he's based in Singapore, and we have a conversation about our point of view and what we do as daddy and how this match our life. Thank you for being with us.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me. Thanks for reaching out. I think you forget that I'm a dad too, so maybe I would be spoiled in this conversation.
Exactly. Yeah, go ahead with your conversation. So you can just introduce a bit yourself, and then we can just be.
Sure. Thanks for reaching out. As you know, if you go to my LinkedIn, I used to be. My training is I'm first an architect and an artist and now a designer, and I was doing that for many years. And then for about 5 years, for the last 5 years, I used to be the head of the design thing for Council, which is a government agency in Singapore that is, oversees the design industry, is responsible for sort of helping businesses use design to create new value in the economy. And also, we just look into what are the kind of manpower and how do you groom talent for Singapore. Very much like the UK Design Council. We also sort of run the National Design Center and do a number of things. And I left the public service end of last year, and now I'm on my own, but I'm doing a number of things. One of which is I recently co-founded the Designing Your Life Institute with Professor Bill Burnett from the Stanford Design School, where if you're familiar with the title, it's about of this very well best-selling book, or if you might have had the pleasure to take a program in Stanford or one of 350 universities around the world, where we teach people design thinking principles towards designing what we believe is the most complicated and unpredictable project of all, which is our lives. So we just set up institute here in Singapore, and our goal and our mission is to be able to just bring this into all of society so that people can have the agency and the tools towards designing a much more meaningful and purposeful life. And of course, we hope to bring that across the rest of the Asia Pacific as well. And that's just been really fun, and it's just allowed me to kind of enter into a lot of meaningful conversations around meaning, purpose, and how design, or at least a design attitude, can actually allow people to find a way to get there. And then I think the thing why we connected on the web was because of as an artist, I also I had been doing some collaborations this year, and I've always drawn since I was very young, and over the years, in spite of my professional career, I had some exhibitions, had some collaborations, and now on my own, I just recently launched a small product collaboration with a children's clothing company with my drawings. And I guess these are some of the things I want to share with my daughter as she grows up, to know that, art can bring joy and happiness, and it can be, it can also hopefully, make an empire and make a living.
Of course. Can I ask how Mark changed before having the daughter? How is Mark now? Can you pick up a couple of things?
Oh God, why do you ask these questions? No, my daughter's name is Abigail. She's about 10 years old this year, and she's our first child, and to be honest, right now she's our only child, and I think nothing really prepares you for fatherhood, right? And so I think, if anything, I think this idea of what it was like before fatherhood and after fatherhood I think if you ask anyone, like your life changes entirely. You know, a in a very basic way, you can't even live the same way anymore.
Exactly. You summarize in a two word, what it was about. Yes.
You can't, right? You can't just like go on a date night just like that, right? Because you have a hotel at home, right? You can't just do whatever you want. You also have to be mindful that you are you are a parent now, and also we want to communicate to her the values you have. I think the other thing also is that you have this new relationship as a father and my wife as a mother, and how do you got your own relationship as a husband and wife. So a lot of these things are new, and I think no one really prepares you for them. We kind of read books a little bit. At the same time, every child is different,
Yeah.
and it's unpredictable. But I think what's beautiful is obviously, every parent can probably tell and start to see themselves in their children, right? Sometimes or physically or personality wise, and and that's just something that you realize that that person comes from you, and how do you want to bring him or her out in the world. So for me, I mean, this is a lifelong project. I'm very happy I have a girl. I think fathers and daughters, there's just something about that that's different. Uh, you know, um, and yeah, I mean, she's obviously my princess, but also, how do I be a parent to her? And I want to be one of these dads that, you want your kids when they grow up to still find you interesting and cool and close to talk to. Many parents don't necessarily have that. Yeah, maybe it's very distant relationships. They feel that, yeah, as children, you cannot relate, you cannot fully express and share with your own parents about certain things because of, maybe this a difference in opinion. And those are things I really hope I can overcome.
Yeah, so it's a journey. So it's unpredictable. The only things we can do is just to find our own way to share, maybe to share our passion, our point of view. So without pressure. That's what older parents, more experienced parents say. So just don't press the button on a specific direction because maybe what you really want, because maybe you're passionate about something, doesn't happen. You need to find your own way and let them go. That's what
Yeah.
more
And,
experienced say.
and, and actually, what I'm also, learning and understanding is that as fathers, even though you may, even if you may spend less physical time with your children, especially daughters, you actually make a huge impact with even just a few words and
Yeah,
and time spent. And I'm realizing the kind of huge impact that fathers actually have on their daughters or children. There is even more than the mothers. And even as fathers, right, what are you going to represent towards your children? I mean, that's something I will throw on the journey to that. And as we all know, as adults, we are all a lot of our worldview and even the way we think about ourselves are influenced by our relationship with our own parents,
exactly.
right?
Exactly. We realize this later on, no? Only one
Yeah, and
we are parents.
yeah, and you say sadly because I guess when you say sadly, it's because we will be thinking about things that are that you aren't proud of, right? Or but at the same time, thinking about happily, it will also mean that things that were because of your parents that you are who you are today, that you are well, you're so grateful for, right? So I want to have more um happy than sadly.
Of course. That's
Yeah.
for sure. So just
Yeah.
leave a good impression, no? Make sure, as you say, it's
Yeah.
to be not somebody that they can count anytime, not just now because they're kids, but once they grow up, they can always know that you're there,
Yeah.
find you, keep, as you say, being cool all the time. Being cool means that they can approach you at any time, any situation.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know. I guess as a designer and a creative, you curiosity about the world around you all the time. And, we have the gift and the skills to be able to create things that are original, and also to be excited when you find inspiration on things. And I'm trying to also, find a way to do that with my child, in terms of where I bring her or what I kind of let her see, help her to make those connections, and hopefully, just instill a kind of the same curiosity you have that has made me always been able to look at the world with, just always interest and hopefulness and excitement, and that's definitely something I try to do as a dad. I think there's also a part of that as a father, you find out about how much of your daughter's personality is nature or nurture, right? I mean, it just so happens that my daughter tends to, I think her personality is closer to mine. So, you're like, okay, so those things, because their nature, you feel easily connect, but I also wonder how much of it is also nurture. So I think that's also my journey in trying to understand it.
Yeah, it's a step by step. So it's and then basically every day is a discover, because you understand something. Why you discover something about them, and I think we discover something about ourselves, or we look at ourselves with different eyes at this point, because thanks to them, and then it's sort of mirror, So it's another way to reflect, to see our reflection.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Another thing I constantly also kind of grapple with is, a lot of times as parents, as you come in, a lot of people tell you that, oh, you need to manage screen time, you have to sort of like, not devices and all that. And I understand that. At the same time, there's so many things you learn through. Obviously there's maybe not productive screen time, which is just doing, playing things that are sort of just, not very useful. But there's a lot of stuff you can learn on this through digitally today as well, that you can learn even in a more powerful way than reading. So sometimes I also kind of am conflicted in, trying to figure out where's that balance. So take, for example, math, right? Traditionally math is taught in the classroom with teachers and all that. And, I don't know, maybe we all feel like we have a sense of how we grew up learning math. But then, sometimes she gets bored and she's like, kind of not very patient. I can tell in school. But I recently got her on Khan Academy.
Oh.
And obviously it's all on the screen, but it's brilliant. It's gamified. If you don't understand the problem, you just go to the video and watch it, and you can watch it to understand it. And I'm like, dude, and she was really, when she was doing fractions or something like that, right? And then she really got locked in and she got really interested in it, and you see a huge focus. So I'm like, okay, clearly this is more effective than a teacher sitting in front of her in the classroom with 40 students. But, it's just valuable screen time, and, it's an issue about how much time you should be on it. So those are things that I'm also trying to understand. So I think this view about digital screens, though, providing much more engaging ways to help people learn, right? Versus the people obviously warning you that, hey, keep away the devices, right? Make sure they can play. I'm also trying to figure out what's the balance.
I have a conversation even with other dads, and they say, so basically we are the generation that build the application for all those devices somehow.
Yeah.
And some of us built the first application as well. But now we are parents, so we are conflicting how much time they should use it. But as you say, if you compare the traditional way of educating through the school and the way you see how much they can learn from TikTok, from Netflix show, is a huge difference. So
You,
what they learn in 5 minutes at the school, they have to repeat, because the school, we still build the school as we built 50 years ago, 90 years ago. The classroom, 90% of the time, are made on the same way with the same architecture. All a few cases around the world are fantastic, but at the end of the day, from kindergarten to university, is the same architecture. So I have
no,
learned that doesn't work anymore. So media adapt quickly, technology adapt the content to media, but why for learning seems quite a strange thing, no? Should the teacher use
yeah,
mobile phone device or not? It's too much. We need to ban the technology from the classroom, but then kids use every day. So you need to
yeah,
find a way. So it's part of our routine. As ChatGPT, somebody say, "Oh, it's a new nightmare," but again, you can use. Yeah, you have a. If you are literate about how to use digital tool, that can be just another another power of you, just an extension. No,
yeah,
can give you ideas, so you can play with maths. There are other parts that maybe they told me they play with the ChatGPT to do math, so to create story for the time bedtime. So you can play with those things. So of course we are learning, because now before we are just consumer, and now we are parents of other potential consumer, as you say. So it's a learning journey.
yeah, yeah. No, and I actually it brings me to the other thing as a parent I'm learning is I do question our education system, right? When you
Right.
educate, I mean, you, I mean, a lot of the public education systems, at least in general, school education systems haven't really changed for the last 50 years.
Yeah.
It's still very kind of like, teacher to engaging a lot of the students in the class and quite one directional. And, education systems tend to also just, kind of celebrate people with the IQ as opposed to other intelligences. At the same time, when I look at a lot of as we know, technology is changing the world rapidly. I look at even, as you look at things like what are the most important skills of the future under the World Economic Forum, like creativity,
Right.
communication, a lot of these collaboration, and you're like, well, if they're not going to and sometimes they're not really getting them in school, then what should you, as a responsible parent, be doing for your kid? And I really struggle with that because you know because sometimes I just I do have my doubts about our current education, whether our current education systems are evolving quick enough, right? And doing that, it's almost like how can you train and how can children be educated so that they have skills that AI and cannot do, right? All these
Yeah.
machines cannot do as well, right? I think that should be the objective, right? Right. When a lot of the things I realized that when I was in school was training us for things that actually now computers can do very quickly. And
Yes.
that's a concern, right?
It is. It is.
That's
It is. Like when
a
they,
concern.
yeah, when the school give you the test, say, okay, now a computer can give you yes or no without any problem. Now give you even the complete and extended answer to any question. So yeah, we need to find a different way. So I think we have all the tools, but the structure of education is still an old structure, very hard
Yeah.
to renovate.
But I
Yeah.
I think it's good that we're thinking about it. I think the question is that there's no, at least for me, there isn't a sort of like quick solution, but at least I feel that me and my wife, we are at least aligned about how we see the future and where our current education system doesn't provide for it. How as parents can we do that? And so as parents, we also value things like play, value things like how like our child have a everyone develops at a different pace and for her to understand how she's developing and not be pressured by her peers or what the education system demands of the child at a certain age, because people grow up differently. So I that's something that me and my wife are very clear about. We take we will take an independent stand and not just look at what everyone is pushing their children to do,
Yes.
because we want to, and when we recognize that every child is unique, and the most important I realize is that how can we allow our daughter to continue to be curious, to be able to have a love of learning, but also to have a strong self image and self confidence.
Self confidence.
I think because in Singapore the education system is really quite demanding, right? And I feel sometimes that the children they're always sort of like getting tested after tested, or they're always sort of like the questions are always really tricky and all that, and what happens is that sometimes the kids feel demoralized, or they feel like they're not good enough because these things are so hard. And I think that is even harder as a parent to recall. Because when they knew the education system, and then it was still your child, and I think that's something we found so important to protect, as they grow up.
Yeah, I read that now in Singapore the plan is to eliminate all those texts at the school. I don't know if it's just a plan or is a dream.
Well, I mean, it's interesting, right? Because you have an education system that has been really in South for at least the truth is that children in Singapore, and there's also a culture where parents grew up believing that many parents believe that the education system is the right way. So what happens is that if you are trying to shift away from a culture of having got a lot of tests and now trying to reduce that, you also have sometimes parents who want to know, so where does my child stand? What how do I know where the ranking is, right?
Yes.
When doesn't, or even tuition centers that are also opportunistic. So what happened, my friend the other day posted on LinkedIn, he was really horrified because, as you know, the schools have been, what the government has been doing has been eliminating some of these sort of like tests from the exam system. So I think now you maybe take a big exam on the 12 years old, you might start taking some smaller tests along the way from maybe 10, 9, 10, and 11. And what they're removing what you call mid-year exam.
I see.
Right? But what happened was this tuition centers started to advertise it to the parents. So if you don't know, basically, do you want to know where your children stand?
Mm-hmm.
Basically saying if the schools don't provide mid-year exam, we will provide your children mid-year exam so you know where your children stand. And you're basically tapping on the fear of parents who want to know where their children are. And now the tuition companies are saying, we will give your children the test. It's crazy. It's crazy. So anyway.
Oh my God.
So so
it's complicated. Let's say it's very complicated. Yeah, because you touch one thing and then you need to consider the full society. No, it's not just the building of the school itself, as you say. So you need to consider what is around that. So what is the culture about this? And that can happen in every country for any culture. I mean, and it's not easy. Not easy. But it's interesting to question anyway, as I think is important. In fact, I mean, nowadays, those kids are kids' generation, there are plenty of opportunity beside the school of activity. Thousands of activity that when we were kids, yes, we have some activity, but now there are an explosion of activity, like thousand compared to our age.
So, like, if you're a 10-year-old kid or a 12-year-old kid, you gotta actually run your own business on the internet. No one will know you're 12 years old.
Exactly. Just to say one thing.
Right. I mean, that's just really the way the world has changed. It's so different, you know. So yeah, but I look at that as also exciting. I mean, my daughter actually has a much more creative kind of like personality. You know, she's very outgoing. She loves to dance, like music and all that. And in some ways, at least for me, one thing I had clarity about, I'm like, she may or may not be extremely academic, but it doesn't matter. I just need to bring her up in a way that she can just think differently from everyone else.
Yes.
And if she can think differently, she will be. That's important. That's enough, because there's always value for people who think differently. That's just my own conclusion.
The designer mind speaks. Yeah, of course. No, and as you say before, self-confidence is what makes the difference. Then you can do whatever in your life. If you're self-confident, that is the most important things that no school teach. So probably that is as parents we have to tap in. So yeah, we can read so many books now, even a lot of books to do or not to do. But then your child is just your child is different from the child next to him, next to her. So you really need to find what is the best for them.
Yeah. What about you as a parent? I mean, how you? I mean, what are some of the important things that you feel that you need to do as or at least you want to do as a father?
Well,
we have a design background.
Exactly. So the things, of course, so we're living here as Bangkok as an expat couple with our daughter born in Italy, and then she moved here, and so we needed to the fact she embrace another culture, that's as important, and having this opportunity since young age, not just the Thai culture, but here is quite a hub, so you have people from all around the world. I think giving her this opportunity to experience people with different mindsets, that's a very important element. And then things will move on step by step. Every time we see she's growing up, what are her passion, we try to see what is the best option for her. And then you try. So what I do so far is, okay, let's try. There are thousands of activity available on the market. What can be the fit for her? You try 10 and you see which one works. Or sometimes they are a bit shy to do something, but again, we want them to be confident. So we try to push them just the way to be confident, not just because they have to be the first in the class, but because it's important. Just shining is normal, but then you have to step out of your inner fear, just knowing things make you more comfortable. I think those are the things important.
Yeah. And I guess just love them for who they are, right?
Exactly. So they need. I think it's the most important thing. Yeah. Be self-aware. Self-aware, and that's basically even what I say to students, design students. Say we can design for others if you don't know yourself. So, and same things for our kids. So we really need to know you.
Yeah. Well, one thing that really stood out for myself as I became a parent was the way I was parented. And obviously, I mean, the things that you wish were better, but there were many things that when I looked back, I was really grateful for. So one of the things my parents did when they raised me was they always told me and my sister that we could, they would support us in anything we wanted to do. And, we always had faith in us and nothing was too dumb to do. And that provided us with a lot of self-belief and assurance. The other thing that they did was when they was not just, I remember one time where in my school, a teacher was maybe unhappy with me over some incident, or basically, was it about a subject or something? I mean, I couldn't get into details, but basically, that teacher complained to my mom, and my mom looked at my side and hit the teacher's side. I realized that my teacher was wrong. And then she said, "Well, no, then you're not wrong." She basically just stood up for me and just told me that no, it's not your fault. We should just tell her. And I think that just made me realize that some parents would just always defer to the teacher,
Right.
whereas my mom was like, you know what, when someone else is wrong, then it says I will stand up for you, and you should stand up for yourself. And those things actually, I do remember when I get older, because, this idea of parents who support you and you having your own voice, your own sense of independence, in a way, not just taking sides to authority because that's the easy way out, but rather also choosing to, and telling you that you also should have the boldness to, to disagree,
Yeah.
right? And
Certainly.
and those things huge, I don't remember half the things I learned in class, but these are the things I remember in the end growing up, So I think these things really, I realized that was the influence of my parents on myself, that I also want to provide to my daughter when she grows up, and what it's and encounter different situations. Yeah.
Of course, this is very important. So have your own voice. The respect that your parents
Yeah.
are protecting you all the
Yeah.
time. No. So
Yeah.
and that's make you independent again, and make you
Yes.
self-aware, and you know where to stand. So you cannot wait. Sometimes you get wrong, sometimes you get right. So it's important just to be aware of it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, I think yeah, being just helicopter parents, so sometimes probably damage more than help the kids. I mean, the
Yeah.
overdoing, of course, because
Yes. Yes.
they have to find a way to find their own way to get out of situation.
Yeah. And also not to help you don't take life too seriously.
Exactly.
And
So
and even by association with that, to know it's okay to fail as long as you're trying, and then and then just try again. I mean, these things I realize, and especially as opposed to parents or cultures where they're always telling you why didn't you do better, or they instills this fear that if you don't perform, that they won't, parents will performance is conditional on the luck, right?
Mm.
And those are things actually, I realize is so important when we don't do that, right? Because so one thing my mom did for me that was really interesting. Well, years ago, she said, "You shouldn't study because of me. You should just study because of yourself." And basically just saying that, whatever you study for, the grades are not for your parents. It's really for yourself. So you want to do well, you do well for yourself. You don't do well, then you know it. And that just was really useful because it just basically made me realize that I was responsible for myself.
Yeah.
Many parents don't do that. They'd be like, why do you work harder? And, it's a very different kind of mentality. So these are things I do also with my own child. If she comes back from a test and I'm like, so how do you do it? And you try your best. And then he doesn't have to fear that, oh my goodness, right? It's kind of like crazy expectation. And the truth is that you're gonna be you're gonna be learning and training and putting up new skills for the rest of your life. It's not only one will stay. So you need a lifelong kind of perspective, and it's no longer this thing of I study everything I learned in school is just going to prepare me for the rest of my life as a career. That doesn't really work anymore.
No, probably it was working a couple of generations ago, but with our generation on, so we keep learning. So we need to learn every day. So new technology, that you buy the new phone, you switch from Apple to Android or whatsoever, you need to learn how to use again. So the little things keep you learning. And the same for the school. If you go just for the score, once you finish the school, I assume you wouldn't want to touch a book anymore. So everything related to learning, you get, oh my God, no way. But if you do because you are curious, it's a different approach. Then you want to learn because not because somebody give you a score. That's an important approach that I hope even school encourage nowadays.
Yeah, a lot more fun.
Yeah. All right. Do you have any advice for new or upcoming dad? Something you want to share?
Any advice? Well, I think it's first the first thing is follow their interest. Maybe pay attention to their interest and try to expose them and see what sticks. I think that's important. Two, and this is a reminder to myself on how to have a good time with them, learn how to have a good time with them. Sometimes you'd be surprised, right? We adults are so like consume work and all those things, and when we run out, we don't know how to engage our children. So learn how to get life, because we laugh and you bond those some memories. And the third thing is just love your children, love them unconditionally. I think that would hold the longest way. Yeah. So one, look up, try to understand their interests and expose them to, and then how to have fun with them, and we need to love them a lot.
And don't be too serious, as you say. Right? Don't be too serious. Don't take life too serious. So just learning.
Yeah. And you're kind of like, I guess you're trying to invest early when you're young, because you always hear about parents telling you that once your children become teenagers, they don't want to spend time with you. And I figure, how do you avoid that? You want to make such a strong impression, and you want them to feel close to you when you're younger, such that when they grow up, they still want to just hang out. Right? And I think that's what only parent wants. So how do you need to proceed about it, I guess?
I think so. That's as important. So there's a key. It's a hope for many of us. Don't be cool just now. They're young, but when they grow up, they can go and we can keep having cool conversation and a fun time together. That's the goal, life goal.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark.
Yeah.
Hi, thanks for listening, the Fatherly Edition. If you like what you've been hearing, please follow Tommaso Maggio on LinkedIn or subscribe to the Fatherly Edition podcast on Spotify, Apple, or whatever you gain your podcasts.